welcome to episode 1 of FreeWheelin, which is really a show where you just get to ask questions about veterinary leadership or management or just life in veterinary practice in general, and I will do my best to give you something of an answer which will add value to you, I think. And what's in it for you apart from the value of the answer? Well, if you have a question that's featured on the show, so I'm going to do one of these a week. We've got a backlog now because we ran a competition on Instagram and on my Facebook page. Both of those are like Instagram.com or Facebook.com/Dr. Dave Nicol, DRDAVENICOL, just to show you don't edit all of the missteps out. And so if we feature one of them on the show, then you can have a copy of one of the 2 books that I have produced into the veterinary management space. So you can either have a copy of So You're a Vet Now What, which is my second book, which is just released, or you can have a copy of the first one, which was The Yellow Pages Are Dead, which is about marketing your veterinary practice in the digital age, which I published in 2011. So everyone who sends in a question that gets featured will get one of those emailed out to them, courtesy of me, with my thanks for sending that in. So let's get cracking. So this is like the short form podcast, which means I'm not going to take up like an entire hour and a bit of your life. Unlike on Blunt Dissection, this is like shorter, it's punchier, just give you some actionable content, action points that you can put into practice for you based on real life scenarios and challenges that you are facing. So if you have a problem, email the problem in. You can email them to hello@drdavenicol.com. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or video them in. Even better, send in your own audio or video, and I will edit that into this podcast, which is also going to go out as a short YouTube show as well. So, episode 1, let's get stuck into the question for today. And the question we got scrolling through there is the Instagram post where a bunch of people sent me some amazing questions. So thank you to Jasklan V or Jasklan. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. But I'm gonna hit your question first. And so the question is, what are the 3 top pieces of advice or rules for a vet hoping to open their vet practice within the UK? Okay, so and honestly, I think we can probably say these rules are going to be global rules of business, so they're going to be applicable for whether you are in the UK or wherever you are on planet Earth. And I think number 1 rule is really sit down with yourself and ask yourself, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? And the rest of your life might not be forever. That's kind of a final thing to say, isn't it? But maybe it's the next 5 to 10 years. Because if you're going to open your practice, and I'm going to come at this from the opening your practice from the ground up, so you're starting with a building with 0 clients, 0 revenue, then you are going to have to work for a considerable amount of time and work very, very hard in order to make money or to see your dream realized. My first thought is think really hard about whether you're completely committed to this, because if you're not completely committed to this, it's going to turn from a dream into a nightmare very, very quickly. And so I think you need to be absolutely certain that you want to do this. And how do you get absolutely certain that you want to do it? I would put yourself in a position where you're managing somebody else's business first. So I would look for a role where you got to flex your leadership muscles, not just your clinical muscles. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, is that they dive in having worked and said, look, I can do this because I am a good vet, so I can generate caseload, which means I can generate money. And that works to a certain extent, but it doesn't guarantee you happiness. Because the phrase that I say sort of tongue-in-cheek, but funny, not funny, is veterinary medicine would be easy if it wasn't for all the goddamn people. And that is completely true, because once you are running a business, it's as much, if not more so, about the people, and that means the clients, so the people who are going to pay your bills, and also your team, the people you're going to pay. And you have to be able to navigate those 2 groups of people successfully. So if you're not absolutely certain that that is a skill set you have, then I strongly advise you, as point one, that's your start point. Go work for somebody else, even if it's for 6 months or a year, because if you do that and you find it sucks, then you have failed small. In fact, you've not failed at all. You've just found out some awesome information that saved you a bunch of money and saves you from making a mistake before you wade in. So first rule is fail small and drill what we call a test well. Rule number 2, if you're going to open from scratch, you've got to do your homework. So I would suggest that you work out, first of all, what your practice, why, like who are your customers? Where are they going to come from? Like if you want to open up near your home and there's 10 other vets and they've got the market covered from, low end, low cost up to high end, high cost, and you think you're going to open doors and then suddenly attract clients, then my friend, you have a problem because the market is saturated and you're going to have a slog to get clients. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be expensive to acquire clients. And if you're setting up, that's, you have no money when you're setting up or you're spending somebody else's money. And so, your cash flow is tight. Cash is absolutely everything. Particularly when you're setting up your own business. You're likely to be doing it somewhat on a budget. You'll be able to get some money, but the marketing side of it, you're going to be bootstrapping. You're going to be running as lean as you can to start with in order to conserve cash, which is going to conserve your ability to stay in the game long enough to acquire enough clients that you're actually going to become profitable. So how do you do that? Well, if you found a location you think might suit, let me flip that backwards. To find a location that would suit, I think you're looking for an area that is poorly serviced by the existing veterinary community. Now, that does not mean has no vets, but it might mean has vets that are not doing a good job or not aiming at the bit of the market you're aiming at, or are maybe about to be taken over by corporate, because oftentimes those practices will hemorrhage clients. So it doesn't mean no vets, but you have to know your competition very, very seriously. If there's a monopoly in an area, that's an interesting thing to look at, because monopolies are ripe for knocking off with a different product or service offering. That's how Pepsi got started. There was a monopoly in the soft drinks, and so they were offering something a little different. It doesn't mean you're going to knock the other person out of business. Coca-Cola still exists, right? Coca-Cola is a market leader. But it does mean that there's an opportunity for you to carve out market share. And I think that's kind of awesome. So look at the area, look at the clients that you want to service, and have an idea, like, what is it you want to offer clients, and what are clients likely to pay for? I think is that Venn diagram. It's this really cool Venn diagram, which is there are 4 quadrants and there are 4 circles in the Venn diagram. And one of them is, what skills do you have? And then the second one is, what are you passionate about? What do you really love doing? And the third one is, what do people want or need? And then the fourth one is, what will they pay for? And you're looking really for the intersection of all of those things is your sweet spot. If you're working in that spot, then you're likely to have a very, very happy career. And luckily, veterinary medicine ticks quite a lot of those boxes once we've gotten hold of the soft skills. So we've got to think about what people want. If what you want to deliver is high-end medicine and you found an area with no vets, but there's no vets because there's no money, then you're going to have a hard time setting up there. So let's assume you find an area you want to practice quality medicine. You've done, and you can go online. There's demographic surveying tools around. Like if you're in Australia, the information is freely available from the government. If you are in the UK, then companies like Experian have databases like Mosaic where you can buy that information. I'm sure that Experian are active in the US as well. So all of this information is available either freely or relatively inexpensively. And frankly, you don't even need to go to those lengths. Like if you found an area, just go hang out there, speak to the locals, find out where are the good parts of town, find out where are the bad parts of town, get yourself on the ground and go speak to people who might be your customers. That's going to be your best, most accurate source of information. And you start getting to know them right away, okay? So Work out if there's people that will pay for the thing you want to deliver. And then the next thing I think is really important, if you're choosing a location, is then, how do people get to you? What are the traffic flows like? And how is it they're going to access your service? Do you have a car park? Like, car parking is such a huge deal. So zero car parking, like if you have a competitor who's a car park and you have none, you've got a problem, because people are going to go for the convenience of the car park every time, okay? You're going to have to be so much better at something else to compensate for a lack of a car park. So I think that's super important as well. So know your area, get to know your customers. I think that's the next thing. And then the third thing is, how are you going to be different from everybody else? Like, what is going to be your point of differentiation? Because just being a vet and opening your door doesn't cut it anymore. Like, once upon a time, like in James Herriot days, there was a local monopoly. Anybody could put a brass plaque in front of a door and people would come in because there wasn't choice. Now they have choice. So how do you differentiate yourself in a world of choice? There are three classic areas where people differentiate, and it's going to be cost, or it's going to be absolute quality of product, or it's going to be service that you're offering. So, and I think within those things, then you can look at subclassifying those areas. So if you're going to be cheap, or you're going to be low cost, are you going to be low cost, or are you just going to make it affordable for people to pay? So is there some form of financial wizardry that you can pull that makes you very different to every other practice in town? That's where health plans came from originally. Was the ability to change the financial model of how people paid for veterinary practice. So that was a USP. Now everyone does them, not so much. Quality is the one that a lot of vets would focus on. So I'm going to offer great quality medicine. And of course that's important, but clients have no idea what great quality medicine looks like compared to poor quality medicine, as long as the line of sutures looks good. So really the area we competed on the most was service. And so, out servicing or outdoing your competition in creating a service offering that clients could see was different has been the mainstay of veterinary competition for the last decade or two. And I still think there's a lot of room in the market there. Like we have evolving technologies available to us now. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to redefine what veterinary service looks like for new entrants into the market. So there's some thoughts for you. So I think those would be my three things. One, get absolutely down and dirty with the thought that you want to be in business, because business is great fun, but it's not always sexy. It's not always fun. In fact, quite a lot of the time, it sucks. Like, there will be times when you are just on your knees, your eyes are bleeding, you feel like you've had your ass kicked around, you've been beaten up by life, and you just have to pick yourself up and go again. In those moments, you have to have a strong why. Like, why am I doing this? What is my objective here? Because if you don't have a strong why, then in those moments, you're going to think, like, this is too hard. I'm going to give up. And so one of my whys, I'll share this with you. One of my whys, aside from, wanting to have a nice roof over my head and to be able to provide for my family, like, that's probably a why for everybody else. But you could have that why for any job. Like, why put your head above the parapet, strap on your armor, and become a business person or an entrepreneur, is because either you want more freedom in your life, and that's certainly true for me. But also, I would like to build a Spitfire from the ground up. Like, as an aircraft, I have huge appreciation for the impact it made in the World War. It effectively won the Battle of Britain and secured Britain's safety and prevented us from getting invaded. It was certainly a big part of that. It is such a beautiful, iconic designed aircraft, and I'm kind of a plane nerd in any case. And so I would like to build one from the ground up, and then take flying lessons and fly that over the chalk cliffs of the southern counties of England. Now, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need a bit of money to do that. So I don't want money for money's sake. It's never been about that. But I would like it for the experience of that. And so actually one of the things I have here, and for the podcast, this is not going to work, but for you guys on the video, I have a picture up on my wall. You see it there, of a Spitfire. And so when I'm writing and when I'm feeling a bit tired and when I feel like, oh, do I have to do another bit of work, or, what have I got to do? I remind myself that that's one of my objectives. And so I find that very motivating. So what's your why? Why do you want to do it? And, just as an aside to that, like, you could choose to do anything to make money, right? But the other why that motivates me is I just want to help people, and I freaking love this profession. Like, I feel very blessed and grateful that I was able to enter it, and I've worked hard within it, and it's been good to me. And so I want to give back and help people as well. But I have to charge for that. Like, I'd love to do it for nothing. And at some point in my future, I probably will. But right now, I need to put a roof over my head for my family, and I need to save some money to be able to build my Spitfire at some point. So there you go. That's my why. So there are my 3 things. Think really hard about why you want to do it. Really hard about that. And if the answer is no, I don't want to do this really, don't do it. Just work for a manager for a year, work it out. Number 2, plan where you're going to be. Match up your service offering with clients who will actually want to pay for that. And then part 3 is work on it's called a USP, unique selling proposition. How will you differentiate yourself in the market? There you go. That's what I got for you. So I hope that was useful. If it was, please leave me some comments in the feedback box below the video right there, or after the podcast, and let me know if you enjoyed this. They're going to be like 15 minutes long, and that is it. So until next time, be safe, be well, be happy, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Dave out.